Welcome po sa lahat ng grade 6 sa ating online class ngayon about sa Math 6 na ang topic natin ay adding and subtracting simple fractions and mixed numbers without or with regrouping. Sakop po ito ng first quarter, week number 1, lesson number 1. The following are the sequence of our discussion. So we will start with the content standards, performance standards, learning competency, subject matter, instructional procedures, assessment, assignment, and then references. Here is now our content standard. The learner demonstrates understanding of the four fundamental operations involving fractions and decimals. The performance standard, the learner is able to apply four fundamental operations involving fractions and decimals in mathematical problems and real-life situations. And the learning competency adds or subtract decimal fractions in simple and mixed forms without or with regrouping. And now for our topic this morning, we'll focus on adding and subtracting simple fractions and mixed numbers without or with regrouping. After going through this lesson, you are expected to add or subtract simple fractions and mixed number without or with regrouping. Fractions are very important in our day-to-day living. Whatever we do, daily is just a portion of our task or goals on that day. Unconsciously, you are adding parts of your finished task. Fractions are like similar if they have the same denominator. It is dissimilar if they have different denominators. Now we are now on learning task number 1. So our direction is identify similar and dissimilar fractions. On your notebook, write S if the fractions are similar and D if dissimilar. After we had presented learning task number 1, the points we must remember. When we add or subtract similar fractions, simply add, subtract the numerators and copy the common denominator. Then simply the resulting fraction if necessary. When the sum difference is an improper fraction, change it to mixed number.
Okay.
Now look at the following pictures. What are the ingredients used in cooking these cakes? How could these cakes be of help to your family? Okay, now consider the following directions. Study the given situations and answer the question that follow. Situation number 1. Mimi is good at cooking. Every Saturday, she sees to it that she cooks some rice cakes and cassava cakes to be sold in the community. These cakes uses coconut milk. For the rice cake, it needs 2 and 3/4 cups and 1 and 1/8 cups for cassava cake. How many cups of milk does she? And situation number 2. Direction. Study the given situation and answer the question that follow. Mimi found out that the cooked rice cake is too sticky, so she reduced 1 and 1/2 cups from the original amount of the coconut milk. How many cups of coconut milk did she use in the newly baked rice cake? Consider now solution 2 for question number 1. So we have a series of steps to be followed. Step number 1, add the numerators. Step number 2, add the whole numbers. Step number 3, write the sum of the numerators over the common denominator. So this is our illustration. 2 and 3/4 plus 1 and 1/8 equals to 2 and 6/8 plus 1 and 1/8 equals to 3/7/8. And for solution 2 for question 2, so we have here another steps to follow. Step number 1, rename the dissimilar fraction as similar fraction using LCD. Step number 2, subtract the numerators. Step number 3, subtract the whole numbers. And step number 4, write the difference of the numerators over the common denominator. And step number 5, change your answer to lowest term if possible. So we have here 2 and 3/4 minus 1 and 1/2 equal to 2 and 6/8 minus 1 and 2/4 or equivalent to 1 and 1/4. We will proceed now learning task number 2. So consider our directions. Add or subtract the following. Reduce your answer in lowest terms when needed. For letter A, we have 5/7 minus 2/7. For letter B, 9/10 plus 3/10. And for letter C, 3/4 minus 2/3. For letter D, 5/6 plus 1/7. And for letter E, 9/10 minus 3/10 minus 2/10. And for letter F, 2/7 plus 3/7 plus 5/7. And now, how do we add or subtract dissimilar fractions without or with regrouping? Remember, to add or subtract dissimilar fractions without regrouping, change dissimilar fraction to similar fractions before adding or subtracting them. Add or subtract numerators, write the sum or difference over the common denominator. With mixed forms, add or subtract the fraction first, then the whole numbers. Next is add or subtract the results, then finally reduce to lowest terms when needed. At this point, we are now on learning task number 3. So we are now on engagement. So our directions, perform the indicated operations, write your answer in your notebook. For number 1, 2 and 1/4 plus 3 and 1/2 minus 2 and 1/3. For letter B, 3 and 2/5 minus 3/4 plus 5 and 1/2. For letter C, 2/5 plus 6 and 3/7 minus 2 and 2/3. And letter D, 2 and 4/5 plus 7 and 1/2 minus 1 and 3/4. And letter E, 6 and 2/5 plus 3 and 1/8 plus 2 and 2/3. This time we are now on assimilation, learning task number 4. So consider the directions. Add or subtract the following fractions. Write your answer. Express your answers to its simplest form. For letter A, 7/8 minus 5/6. For letter B, 7/6 plus 3/4. And letter C, 10 and 5/3 plus 5 and 2/3. And for letter D, 4/5 minus 1/3. And E, 4 and 5/3 plus 5 and 3/4. Bago po natin tapusin yung unang bahagi ng ating pag-aaral, nais ko pong i-share sa inyo ang isang fraction quotes na mula kay Leo Tolstoy. A man is like a fraction whose numerator is what he is, and whose denominator is what he thinks of himself. The larger the denominator, the smaller the fraction. Thank you and happy schooling, grade 6, Berry.